5 stocks that'll make you a millionaire. So you had brought this article, which you had saw Motley Fool, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it was stocks that they had said if you put 50,000 in, they would 20x by 2040. So essentially you would be a millionaire if any one of those stocks hits. So you wanted to throw your hat in and put some stocks in that you thought could essentially make you a millionaire.
Yeah. So the article basically goes out to say, if you got, $250,000 laying around, you want to put 50,000 in each one of these stocks. One of them could make you a millionaire with over the next 20 years, essentially by 2040. And there's a list of stocks, and feel free to go check it out. Motley Fool is always a great platform. But they had a couple of them that I liked, but I thought to myself, what would it look like if I made my own list of stocks that I thought would, essentially 20x my money over 20 years. Now, you don't have to put $50,000 in something if you don't want to, but if you put 5 or 10 into something and at 20x, would you still be happy? I think the answer would be yes. And so I ended up taking it upon myself to create a list of 5 stocks my own that I thought could 20x over the next 20 years.
All right, let's hear it.
So my first one is going to be Airbnb.
Surprise.
Talk about a disruptor, though. I mean, in the next 20 years, Fat Man Zoom, I think Airbnb could certainly 20x your money. In the next 20 years, I think it could 20x your money. The reason being, in the 3 years leading up to the pandemic, bookings on Airbnb quintupled. So they went up 5 times over the 3-year period. They went from 50 million to 272 million bookings over 3 years, which was absolutely insane. And that growth is carrying over and actually compounding after the pandemic. Right now, you can't find bookings anywhere. I think this doesn't just only disrupt the hotel industry, but also travel itself. When we look at the bookings themselves, that's one thing. When you look at the experiences and the revenue that they can bring in on that side of things as well, that is huge. They have 4 million hosts worldwide. There's 130 million homes in the US alone, well over 1 billion worldwide. So I think that we're still very much in the early stages of Airbnb, and the brand that they've been able to build doesn't really require a whole lot of marketing on their side, even though you've seen commercials here and there. It's not like you see some other things. So I just think that Airbnb could be a huge winner for anybody who's looking to invest in this long term.
It's hard to consider what will Airbnb look like? What will it look like in 20 years? Will it be around? You hope it be around. It seems likely. They weren't the first to the space, but they were the first to execute it properly.
Yeah.
Vrbo's trying to come back, but really I feel like they're just riding off the coattails of Airbnb.
Yes.
And you got Booking.com, which is trying to get into the space. But I think the barrier to entry is going to be high for these competitors because as you get these, Airbnb's built a good brand. Not saying it's not without its issues, but overall, I think it's built a very good brand, a reliable brand. They're only getting better. Airbnb Plus, I think, is going to be a huge component of that. And if you look at all these peer-reviewed sites, not just hotels, but if you look like the Yelps of the world, TripAdvisors, Airbnb is probably the best as far as the reviews and what you actually get and being aligned. I trust if I see something that's an Airbnb Plus, I trust that it's going to be what I'm expecting. So I love it. I mean, we both love Airbnb, and I do think it's going to be around in 20 years, and I do think it's going to be dominating.
As much as this has come down, I think this is a good opportunity. If anybody was looking to get into Airbnb, I don't know how this comes down a whole lot lower from where it's at. It's trading around 28, I think, times its forward earnings for next year. So I think that this is going to be a good one longer term, regardless, wherever you get it at. I like Airbnb. My next one here, Fat Man Zoom, is going to be, shoot, I just lost my spot. Square, sorry, Square is going to be one that you could buy and 20x your money in the next 20 years. A couple of things here with Square. In the 7 years leading up to the pandemic, Square's ecosystem, their sellers' ecosystem, their annual gross payment volume, which is the GPV, it went from $6.5 billion to $106.2 billion. That's accelerated even more because of the pandemic. It's now over $130 billion. So just massive growth there on that side of things. And then you have Cash App, obviously, that has the opportunity to create multiple streams of revenue. Their exposure to Bitcoin and cryptocurrency on that side of things, which we know is not going anywhere and could be argued that it's still very much in its infancy. Then you also have that we just heard about the acquisition of Afterpay that took place yesterday. or that was announced yesterday. And you could see that this could be the fintech company of the future. I could easily see Square and PayPal being referred to in the likes of a JP Morgan and Goldman Sachs. I do think that caliber of oh shoot, where I just lost my train of thought. That caliber of just like clout,
Prestige? Okay.
you know, that could be in the same conversation. Is all I'm trying to say.
Okay. Yeah, I like that one. I mean, I'm still a PayPal fan because of the brand, but because of certain things around the brand and how they've built it, because it seems like they're attacking in two different angles. However, when you look at growth, PayPal is further along in the growth life cycle, so Square would be a logical one if you're thinking about 20xing.
Square's up 10% today. It's pretty wild.
We'll get into that.
All right, so Teladoc is going to be the next one. Now, I know this one is a little bit interesting because Teladoc still hasn't been reporting profitability. They're losing money quite considerably. Each quarter we see this, and every quarter it's just like, this sucks. But the future here in Teladoc, I think, is there. You look at the virtual visits side of things. The pandemic obviously shed a lot of light on that and exposure to virtual visits and just the convenience of them overall. You got a sick kid that you don't want to wait at the doctor's office for and catch God knows what else. That certainly is a perk. But not only that, but their acquisition of Livongo, if you guys didn't catch that a couple of quarters ago, they acquired the artificial intelligence company that keeps track of people with chronic illnesses and helps them get into their checkups, regular routine maintenance on, just medicine and that sort of thing. I think this is going to be a huge one. This, in my opinion, is the future of healthcare. Virtual visits. We talked about Zoom visits and that sort of thing as far as visiting with your doctor. I think that this could potentially be a huge move for them, and this is why Kathy Wood loves them. Then again, just another disruptor that I think 20 years from now could be a household name and something that we all know and love. And we're seeing them in hospitals today with a lot of their other stuff. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah, that's a great call. I love it. I love what they're doing. And everything's going digital, so Teladoc should benefit. How's the chart looking?
With Teladoc, the chart's been pretty rough, but I think the opportunity here could be pretty good if you have the patience to wait for a decent turnaround, which I think they will. Eventually, there will be a path to profitability here. And, where do you grab this? Well, if you're holding on to it for 20 years, if that's the plan, it doesn't necessarily matter where you get it in at. You look at it, you buy it, getting a starter position, and you add to it into weakness. And I think that you just let it go. I think Teladoc is going to be a good one to hold long term.
How many is that? 3?
We're at number 3. Yeah. So number 4 is going to be CrowdStrike. CrowdStrike, in my opinion, is going to continue to grow. It's been around for a couple decades. We look at the ransomware issues that we've been seeing and the stay-at-home trend that continues to accelerate the hybrid approach. This is where CrowdStrike is going to continue to do well. They have an AI platform called Falcon. It actually monitors and checks in on 6 trillion events that happen each week. 6 trillion. And so that is a really amazing. The AI side of this thing is what really attracts me. And in that sense, it could be argued that is a disruptor, their Falcon platform. So I think this is going to be a really great company to hold on to for the next 20 years.
And last, but not least.
So the last one, but not least, actually is not a stock at all. It is a cryptocurrency, and that's Bitcoin. Since its inception, it's grown 200% year over year on average annually. And so I think that if you feel that this is going to be a good one to continue to hold on to it as a hedge against inflation, against the dollar, then I think that Bitcoin is going to be a solid one to hold on to. Could we see this at $1 million within the next 20 years? I think that the way that this has been accelerating, you could certainly see that.
Well, with the way it's set up with the scarcity model, if crypto stays as viable,
Yeah.
it certainly could do that. And it's set up to continue to grow in value as a store of value, which a lot of people buy Bitcoin because of that. So that's a good call. Do you want to show the chart?
Yeah, sure. So Bitcoin's chart right now has actually been doing really, really well. It's bounced back pretty considerably into the 40K mark. A lot of people are excited about that. Had a little bit of a pullback today, but it's still looking a lot better than it did. Let's go ahead and I'm going to bring it up on the daily. Boom, there you go. I think what I really would be encouraged by, we always talk about this, that crucial area at the 200-day moving average, which is around 45,000. I think that if it hits up over that, then we're going to be in good shape for Bitcoin. But again, this is one that you're going to want to buy and own over the next 20 years.
And we didn't show the CrowdStrike chart, but what I did, who said this? Oliver, no, it wasn't, Ivan Broski. I did want to say this, and I'm glad you mentioned it. You guys never talk about cybersecurity. Whoever said that nonsense comment before we ended last night,
yeah.
like, what are you talking about? It was at the very end.
Yeah.
Yeah, Savvy, that was a joke. Ivan was just mocking somebody yesterday who said, you guys never talk about that, and that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I think, and we talked about this when the pandemic started back up. Sorry, when we reopened, which was like, so cybersecurity is not going anywhere. It's still a huge issue.
Yeah.
The question really is, who's going to be at the top, right? Who's going to be the last company standing, or the top two companies? CrowdStrike definitely in the running for that. Tesla is not on this list, but I'm sure would potentially being in the running for 20x in 20 years.
Yeah. The other thing about CrowdStrike, 90% of their customers are sticking with its services. 98%. That's incredible.